Welcome to the deep dive. You send us the material, and well, we dive in, extracting the key insights so you can get up to speed fast.
That's the plan.
Today, we're digging into pages 7 through 10 of the IT Audit Framework, ITF 4th edition. Think of this as your orientation.
Exactly. These first few pages really lay the groundwork. They cover what IT audit actually is, who it's for, how it's structured, and crucially, the ethics involved.
Consider us your guides through this foundational stuff.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's start unpacking the introduction on page 7. So, in simple terms, what exactly is ITF?
Right. So ITF, it comes from ISACA, and it's basically their comprehensive guide for IT auditing. It serves three main purposes.
Three.
Yeah. First, it sets standards for IT auditors.
Yeah.
Defines their roles, the ethics they need to follow, the skills and knowledge required, kind of the baseline expectations.
Right, setting a professional benchmark. Makes sense.
Precisely. Second, it nails down the key terms used in IT auditing and assurance. So everyone speaking the same language avoids confusion.
Clarity is key.
Absolutely. And third, it gives practical guidance, methods for how to actually plan, perform, and then report on IT audits.
So it sounds like they're aiming for it to be the kind of definitive resource.
That's exactly the goal. A single, reliable source, all based on ISACA's material. It's worth remembering, this thing evolves.
Oh, okay.
This 4th edition, it kicked in October 2020. It builds on the 3rd edition from back in 2013, and they incorporated feedback from over 65 reviewers.
Wow, quite a bit of input.
Yeah, and they've got translations online too, which is handy.
Good to know. Okay, let's move to the frequently asked questions, also on page 7. First up, to whom does IT apply? Who's the main audience here?
Primarily, it's for the folks actually doing the work, the IT audit and assurance practitioners, people providing assurance on IT processes, systems, infrastructure.
The auditors themselves.
Right. But the FAQ also points out that it can be useful for others too. Like anyone who uses IT audit reports, understanding IT helps you understand the report better.
Gives context. Okay, next question. When should ITF be used? Is it optional?
No, not really. The framework is basically a prerequisite for doing IT audit and assurance work. The standards within ITF are mandatory. You have to follow them.
Okay, mandatory standards. What about the rest?
The guidelines, tools, techniques, those are different. They're there to help. They offer support, but they're not strictly required like the standards are. They're non-mandatory assistance.
Got it. Standards must do, guidelines helpful to do.
Pretty much. Then there's, in which circumstances should IT standards and related guidance be used?
Yeah, where does it fit in?
The key thing here is flexibility. ITF is designed to work across, well, pretty much any kind of IT audit or assessment engagement. Could be a full IT audit, could be providing IT expertise for a financial audit. It covers a wide range. It acknowledges that requirements differ.
It adapts to the situation. Okay, what about this next one? Does ITF address requirements for consultative and advisory work? That sounds a bit different from a standard audit.
It is, slightly. And yes, ITF does cover that. While the main focus is audits leading to formal reports, it recognizes practitioners often do consulting or advisory stuff too.
Like giving advice rather than a formal opinion.
Sort of. These engagements usually end with maybe an opinion, perhaps in a memo, about performance and suggestions, not usually a full formal audit report.
Okay, makes sense. And the last FAQ is just practical. When will the 4th edition be available?
Yeah, simple one, as we said, and as the doc states, October 2020. So it's been out for a while now.
All right, moving along to organization on pages 7 and 8. How is this whole framework structured?
It's quite logical, actually. The standards fall into three main categories. First, you've got the general standards. Think 1,000 series.
General, like overordering principles.
Exactly. These apply to all engagements. Things like ethics, independence, objectivity, due professional care, basically being diligent and careful, plus knowledge, skills, the fundamentals.
The absolute must-haves for any audit.
You got it. Without those, the whole thing falls apart. Then second, there are the performance standards. That's the 1,200 series.
Performance, so doing the actual audit work.
Precisely. This covers the conduct of the engagement itself. Planning, supervision, scoping it out, risk assessment, gathering evidence, using professional judgment, all the practical steps.
Where the rubber meets the road, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And finally, third, the reporting standards, 1,400 series.
And that's about communicating the findings.
Yep. What kinds of reports to use, how to communicate, what information needs to be included, closing the loop.
Okay, general performance reporting makes sense. But you mentioned guidelines earlier too, the non-mandatory ones.
Right. So alongside the standards, you have ITF guidelines. These give more detailed direction on how to approach things. They align with those 3 standard categories we just talked about.
So they give more specific how-to advice.
Exactly. They focus on things like audit approaches, methodologies for planning, executing, testing, reporting. They also help clarify how enterprise stuff and IT stuff connect. And importantly, you'll find the relevant guidelines right after the related standard in the document.
Convenient. What if someone needs even more detail, like specific tools or templates?
For that, ISACA's website is the place to go. It's a real treasure trove. They have detailed methodologies, tools, templates. For instance, there's a specific guideline. Performance Guidelines 2208, Information Technology Audit Sampling.
Ah, so very specific topics get their own guidelines.
Yes, supplementing the main framework. And beyond guidelines, the website has white papers, audit programs, even books. Lots of resources online.
Okay, let's shift to using ITAF on page 8. What are the key takeaways for actually applying this in the real world?
Well, one of the first things they stress is expertise. If it's just one person doing the audit, that person needs all the required skills and knowledge.
Makes sense. Can't be a jack of all trades, master of none.
Well, they need to be master of the necessary trades for that audit. And if it's a team, then the team collectively needs to have the right expertise. It's about competence.
Seems fundamental, but good to state clearly. What else?
They also mention some basic assumptions underlying any IT audit. Like the thing you're auditing needs to be identifiable and, actually auditable.
Yeah, and audit smoke.
Right. And there needs to be a reasonable expectation you can actually finish the audit successfully.
Okay. What if an auditor gets stuck or needs help? Where do they turn?
ITF suggests several places, colleagues, obviously, management within the organization being audited, governance bodies, like the audit committee.
Internal resources first.
Often, yeah. But also external professional materials, ISI guidelines, those tools and techniques we mentioned. Lots of support available.
And those tools and techniques, how should auditors approach using them?
They're supplementary, right? So sometimes they might offer different ways of doing things. The auditor needs to choose carefully. Pick what's suitable for that specific audit and what will produce information that's relevant, objective, and unbiased.
Use good judgment in picking the tools.
Exactly. Oh, and one last point in this section. Section numbers sometimes have gaps.
Gaps. Why is that?
It's intentional. It leaves room for ISACA to add future guidance as things change without having to renumber the whole document. It's about making it future-proof, basically.
Smart planning. Okay, now page 9. Standards issued by other standard-setting bodies. So acknowledging ITF isn't the only game in town.
Right. It operates in a wider world. Sometimes auditors might need to use standards from other organizations, maybe due to regulations, laws, or specific company policies.
So what if there's a clash? ITF says one thing, another standard says something else.
Ah, good question. This is important. If the auditor says they're complying with ITF and there's a conflict with another standard, then ITF standards win out for the review and reporting.
ITAF takes precedence if you claim ITAF compliance.
Correct. But what if you have to follow other standards, like government rules?
Yeah, what then?
In that case, you can use those other required standards alongside ITAF. And you need to state clearly in your report that you've used those other standards too. Transparency is key.
Makes sense. Document everything. Okay, next is terms and definitions, also page 9. The importance of jargon, basically.
Well, precise language anyway. Like any specialized field, IT audit uses words in very specific ways. So ITA has Appendix C, which defines these key terms.
To ensure everyone's on the same page within the ITAF document itself.
Exactly. Minimize ambiguity. They try to align these definitions with general auditing and IT security terms where possible.
But are they always perfectly aligned?
Not always necessarily, which is why ITAF advises checking the original source standards for whatever specific engagement you're doing. Make sure you have the latest, most relevant definitions for that context.
Good advice. Always check the source. What if a term isn't even in Appendix C?
Then head back to the ISACA website. They have a much more comprehensive glossary online covering a broader range of IT governance and audit terms.
So there's usually an answer somewhere.
Usually, yes.
Okay, finally, let's talk about the ISA Code of Professional Ethics on pages 9 and 10. This feels pretty foundational.
Absolutely critical. This code guides the conduct, both professional and personal, for ISACA members and certification holders. It's about maintaining trust and integrity.
Can you walk us through the main principles? There's 7, right?
That's right, 7 key principles. First one is about supporting compliance with standards for IT governance and management. You know, audit, control, security risk.
Promoting good practice.
Encouraging a well-controlled environment. Got it.
Second, perform duties with objectivity, due diligence, professional care, following standards. Basically, do your job properly and impartially.
The core of auditing. Okay.
Third, serve stakeholders lawfully and ethically. Maintain high standards, don't discredit the profession. Uphold the reputation.
Act professionally,
Yep.
always. Fourth, privacy and confidentiality. Super important. Keep information confidential unless legally required to disclose it. And definitely don't use it for personal gain or give it to the wrong people.
Critical in our data-heavy world. What's number 5?
Competency. Maintain your skills. Only take on work you can actually do competently. Know your limits.
Don't bite off more than you can chew professional.
Exactly. Sixth is about reporting honestly. Inform the right people about your findings, and importantly, disclose all significant facts. Don't hide things that could distort the picture.
Full disclosure.
Right. And seventh, support professional education. Help stakeholders understand IT governance, audit, security, risk management better. Share the knowledge.
Give back to the community and educate others.
Precisely. And the code makes it clear. Failing to comply isn't taken lightly. It can lead to investigations and disciplinary actions.
Serious stuff. So upholding these ethics is non-negotiable.
Definitely. It underpins the credibility of the entire profession.
Well, that wraps up our initial look at these first few pages of ITAF. It's clear they really set the stage for everything else.
They really do. We've touched on ITAF's purpose, who it's for, how it's laid out, the difference between standards and guidelines, definitions, and of course, the ethical bedrock.
And for everyone listening, even if you're not an IT auditor yourself, this gives you a solid grounding in how organizations should be thinking about IT assurance. It's about the principles.
Absolutely. It provides that foundational understanding.
So here's something to think about. Considering these principles, the standards, the ethics, the need for competence, what areas inside an organization might pose the biggest challenges to doing effective IT audits?
That's a good question. Where do these ideals meet methy reality? Definitely some food for thought there.
Indeed. We encourage you to reflect on that. And join us next time as we promise to dive even deeper into the specific standards and guidelines within ITARI.
Looking forward to it.